hello there. So before I even say anything, I would just like to tell you guys that I am sick. I don't know if you can tell by the sound of my voice right now, but I'm not feeling too well. So, just keep in mind that I am sick and this video is probably not going to be as energetic as my other reviews. Not that my other reviews are that fun or energetic anyways. But yeah, just so you guys know, I'm not feeling all that well. But, on the plus side, I made cookies. Look at that, you got Frosty on these beautiful cookies. Look at them, look at that. Today I will be reviewing a movie for you, and this film is called A Christmas Horror Story. And as you can see here, I do have the Blu-ray with this spectacular slipcover. It looks pretty sweet. I mean, that cover right there, that just kind of made me want to buy it. And I was planning on reviewing this anyway, so I went ahead and picked this up at Best Buy just for that cover, because, I mean, I don't know, that looks pretty badass. So this film is directed by Grant Harvey, Stephen Hoban, and Brett Sullivan. These are the three dudes who came up with this fantastic movie. And yeah, I was pretty pumped to see this, honestly. It looked really cool. I mean, the cover features Krampus and Santa Claus about to, like, get in a fight. So, I mean, hey, that's freaking awesome. It's an amazing cover. Probably, like, top 10 best covers of 2015 right here. But unfortunately, the movie does not live up to its cover, but let me get into that real quick. So this is actually an anthology film, which is kind of weird, you know? You would think that Michael Dugtree, the guy who did Trick or Treat, you'd think he'd make this movie because, you know, it's an anthology film, much like Trick or Treat, but no, he just made Krampus instead, and Krampus, in my opinion, is a much better film than this, but again, I'll get into that later. So this is an anthology film, and it's essentially like 4.5 stories. I say 4.5 because half of it, I guess it's the main story, the main thing you're focusing on is William Shatner is in this film, and he plays a DJ. He's doing like this night shift thing where he's a DJ, trying to get people into the holiday spirit on Christmas Eve, and honestly, I don't know if I missed something, if I wasn't paying attention or what, but I saw no point of him being here or what he had to do with the following stories. I don't know. He was just kind of there. I don't think they really explained that, but again, I just probably wasn't really paying attention, but I don't know. But yeah, all 4 of these stories happen to take place on Christmas Eve, and the first story, which is probably my least favorite of the bunch, is about a group of high school students who go to this school to investigate the 2 murders of students at that school, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And the reason why I say that one's my least favorite is because it was definitely the one that just did not feel like Christmas whatsoever. It just kind of felt like a generic horror film, like there really wasn't much to it to add to that Christmas atmosphere, not like the following ones, which I'm about to mention. And the second story in this film is about a family. There's a man and his wife and their little boy named Will. And although the man is a cop, I believe, he goes to the woods where he chops down a Christmas tree illegally. Like, holy crap, this cop is a savage. But in the whole process of that, they lose their son Will, and they eventually find him like inside a tree, which is a little bit weird. And then they just kind of find out that there's something wrong with their son. And I'm just going to kind of stop right there without spoiling much. But I did like this one, even though it didn't really... I mean, it did kind of feel like Christmas, but much like the first one, there wasn't really much to it that had to do about Christmas, other than taking place on Christmas. So, I mean, I'll give it a pass because I found it very enjoyable, and I thought it was a pretty decent segment, so yeah, I liked it. And then the third one is about a family who go to visit their aunt and uncle's house, and these people are assholes, and you just kind of don't really like them at all. But this family, I mean, you don't really like the family either. You really don't like anybody in this segment whatsoever, so you really don't care what happens. But essentially, it's about this family who goes to visit their aunt and uncle's house, and the little boy finds this Krampus statue, and the aunt and uncle tell them the story of Krampus and how he, you know, beats the naughty kids and all that jazz. And he eventually breaks it, and then, oh no, they kick him out and stuff. And so they're driving home car breaks down, they're stuck in the middle of the woods, and then, oh no, Krampus comes because they've been naughty, and he decides to teach them a lesson. I like this one as well because it definitely had that Christmas atmosphere to it, but not only that, but it also features Krampus, who, here's the thing with Krampus in this film. He kind of looks badass, but at the same time, he just looks a little fake. Like, it just kind of looks like some WWE fighter in, like, white makeup. Like, I don't know. He looks a bit corny, but I think that's kind of where, you know, they were going for this type of movie. So, I mean, I guess it's acceptable. But yeah, just, he looks a little bit corny. But I do think that they were aware that he was supposed to be corny. So I'll give that a pass as well. And now for the fourth story. The fourth story is most definitely the best segment out of all these ones, because, well, for one, it's like the most Christmassy one out of them all, and two, the main character is Santa Claus. In fact, I'll just tell you what it's about right now. So basically, this whole entire story takes place in Santa Claus's workshop on Christmas Eve, and, you know, all the elves are, you know, getting ready. But then one of the elves, like, gets sick, I guess, and then they die, and then they become zombies, and then eventually all the other elves become zombies, and, the whole segment is basically just Santa Claus fighting off all these zombie elves in the North Pole, and it's pretty freaking awesome. Unfortunately, this segment felt like the one that they focused on the least. It seems like they focused on all the other ones a lot more than this one, but I think they definitely could have done a lot. I feel like they could have done a lot more with this segment, although it's just seemed like they didn't really do as much as I hoped they would. But despite all that, it is definitely my favorite segment of them all. It's definitely the one that intrigued me the most, and, yeah, that's essentially a Christmas horror story for you. Now, what I liked about this film, first of all, is that there is definitely some Christmas, you know, type atmosphere in this film. Especially with the whole Santa Claus segment and the Krampus segment and all those. There is definitely a lot of, you know, Christmas type atmosphere into that. But the other two, however, the one being, well, especially the one being about the group of high school students going to their school to, you know, learn about the murders of these previous students, and it turns like to this like whole ghost thing. That one did not feel like Christmas at all. Instead, it just kind of felt like some generic horror story, and the sad thing is they definitely focused on that one the most out of all the segments in this film, which was a shame because I really did not care for a single thing that happened in that segment, like, at all, and they focused on that one the most, and I kind of wanted to see the other ones because they were just a little bit more interesting. So every time that one popped up, I was just kind of like, I don't want to watch this. But I did enjoy the one with the, you know, the kid going crazy, and then the Krampus and the Santa Claus one. And another thing I forgot to mention is that, much like Trick or Treat, all of these short stories, you know, combine into, not combine, but they all eventually, at the end, have something to do with each other. So they all, in a way, just kind of connect, I guess. But yeah, it was pretty neat how they did it in this film. And another great thing about it as well is that it looked great, especially for like a very low-budget film. This movie looked pretty awesome. The cinematography was very well done. The movie just overall looked very good. However, for the actual film itself, I gotta say, I was just that little tiny bit right there, that tiny bit disappointed. Just that tiny bit disappointed. It was just a tad bit disappointing for me personally. I know I've seen a lot of reviews of this film, and I do understand that a lot of people like it. And you know what? I am happy for each and every one of you. I'm glad you liked it, and I wish that I liked it as much as you guys. However, unfortunately for me, I didn't like it as much as everyone else. However, that does not mean that I think this movie is terrible. In fact, it is far from being terrible, but it is also far from being great as well. The best way to describe this movie is that it's just good. It's good. It's not anything bad, it's not anything great, it's just good, you know? It's just a nice little watch, I guess, you know? It's definitely more of like a one-watch type movie for me. There are definitely some moments in here where I did not care at all what was going on, and I just mainly, again, just kind of wanted it to focus more on like the whole Santa and Krampus segments in it. But it tended to focus a lot more on the other ones, which didn't really have to do with Christmas. But I really wanted it to focus, you know, on the Santa and the Krampus one. And I just dropped it. Another thing that I have to mention is that this fight scene right here on the front cover of the the thingy here. I'm not gonna spoil what happens to you guys, but let's just say that this does happen in the movie. In fact, it is pretty much the very last scene in the film where Krampus and Santa Claus fight. And as I mentioned before, you know, all these stories tend to, you know, connect and have something to do with each other one way or another. So, of course, the Krampus story and the Santa Claus story connect. So, yeah, these two do fight in the movie, and the fight, however, it's nothing amazing. It's just, it's there, you know, it's something. It's nothing really spectacular, you know, as the front cover, you know, makes it out to be. It's nothing like that, you know. It lasts for about a good 2 minutes, and, you know, they fight, you know, it's a thing that happens, but my problem is it's not really, you know, anything that great, you know. When you're watching this movie, I mean, you're most definitely looking forward to this scene right here. And, you know, that's, you know, again, what you're looking forward to while watching this entire film is this very scene that happens at the very end. And unfortunately, it doesn't really pay off that much because the scene isn't really as awesome as you want it to be. And also another thing is that the movie just kind of ends like, there's a twist at the end, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna spoil what it is for you, but there is somewhat of a twist at the end, and it unfortunately just kind of like makes this whole fight scene and pretty much the entire Krampus segment and Santa segment just kind of like, it just makes it so much less awesome. Again, it's really hard to talk about since I don't want to spoil it for you, but long story short, I found the ending to be a bit disappointing. And I found the movie overall to be disappointing as well. However, you know, that's not saying that I didn't like it. I did like it. There were definitely some elements that I loved about it. Again, the film looked awesome. The cinematography was very great. The acting was pretty good as well. And I love the whole Christmas type feel to it. And look at this Frosty. Look how messed up that is. Look at it. He's like a freaking weird little. What's wrong with it? I did like some things about this movie. However, overall, I just didn't really. I honestly can't really see myself coming back to this movie, like, in the near future. It's definitely not one of those movies that I'm gonna be revisiting every year, you know, much like, you know, movies like Trick or Treat or, you know, Krampus or anything like that. It's nothing that I'm really gonna be revisiting every single year. And, that's a shame, because I really wanted to like this movie, but just, it wasn't as good as I expected. But there were still some things that I liked about it, and again, it's a nice little, you know, one-watch type of movie. So overall, I would probably give A Christmas Horror Story, a solid 3 out of 5. It was good, nothing great, nothing spectacular. But it was good. I enjoyed it, and I am also going to recommend you guys watch this movie. Because, like I said, I know there's a lot of people out there who love this movie a lot more than I did, and who knows, maybe you'll love it too. But I would still recommend it to you. I do think it is definitely worth a watch at least once. Yeah, guys, A Christmas Horror Story, check it out. I would still recommend it, although as for me, it was just kind of... And that is it. Thank you guys so much for watching this review, and again, I am so sorry. I have not been feeling very good lately, so I'm a bit under the weather, and I'm sure you can tell by the sound of my voice, but I hope it didn't bother you that much. But yeah, so thank you guys for watching. I'm Jacob Palacio. Stay tuned for my other Christmas reviews in the near future. I'll see you guys later. I feel like shit.